Hello everyone, this is Andrew. Welcome to Keen on America.
On July 4th, 2026, America will be 250 years old. An anniversary that will, no doubt, be greeted with a mixture of celebration, contemplation, and resignation. In Keen on America, Andrew talks not just about the American past and present, but also speculates on its future. What, Andrew asks, will be the 21st century fate of this now venerable American republic?
Hello everybody. 2.5 years ago, I did a show with a woman called Nirit Weiss-Blatt on how the tech clash has gone too far. At that time, she had a book out. It was called The Tech Clash and Tech Crisis Communication. It wasn't a bad book and it wasn't a bad conversation. I never gave it much thought. But this week, Nirit Weiss-Blatt has become a sensation in Silicon Valley, at least according to Keith Teare, who is always a bit of a sensation in Silicon Valley. His That Was the Week newsletter this week is built around Nirit Weiss-Blatt, and it's based on what he is calling a manufactured moral panic against AI. Keith, are you still sane?
Am I still sane? Well, Andrew, as Pink Floyd said, have I ever been sane?
Good question.
No, I picked up on this because I'd never heard of her until this last.
Well, you haven't been. I thought you always told me you watched all my shows. You didn't watch that show of May 31st, 2022?
I may well have.
You must have missed that one. You must have been on holiday or something.
Must have been. All my memory doesn't work very well anymore. But that said, I hadn't heard of her as far as I knew, and her name came up on a bunch of podcasts that I watched, namely the All In podcast.
Yeah, it's smaller than ours, of course, but it's still a decent podcast.
It's the second biggest podcast in the world after us.
It's astonishing. Jason Calacanis, we used to know him when nobody knew him. Now everybody knows him.
Exactly. But they mentioned her. David Sachs in particular mentioned her. So I started to...
Sachs, of course, is a Trump appointee, a right-wing South African who works now as what's Trump's AI man.
Yeah, I don't think him as right-wing, but he's definitely a Trump person. He's
not
more
exactly left-wing, is he? Let's face it. Especially if he's working for Donald Trump.
He's a libertarian technocrat, is what he is. I don't know if that has a left or right label. It could be either one, depending on the topic. But he is right-wing on some things, that's for sure. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. He mentioned her, so I went and drilled down, and she has this prolific writing. I've actually featured, I think, 5 of her pieces this week, because I think people should go and read them.
No one's ever. She's made you all panicky, Keith. I've never seen so many articles by the same person. You've got the AI Panic Campaign, Part 1, Part 2. Those are the only 2 I actually include on my slides. But you're saying there are 5 parts to all this?
Yeah, there's 5. The first one is called What Ilya Sutskever Really Wants. And then in the media section in the newsletter, there's What's Wrong with AI Media Coverage and How to Fix It. And also Your Guide to the Top 10 AI Media Frames. Frame meaning you were framed. So there's quite a bit. And at first I thought she was just a conspiracy theorist. And I read the stuff, and I think she's accurately describing something real that's happening. I don't think it's successful and therefore non-impactful, and therefore ultimately it doesn't matter. But she's pointing the finger at Dustin Moskovich, who was one of the early Facebook winners. I think he's one of the ones that got into a lawsuit with Zuckerberg back in the day.
Yeah, he was a co-founder of Facebook.
Yeah, he apparently he's a big, efficient altruism person, and he's a billionaire, and he's underwriting a lot of the propaganda saying that AI is dangerous and needs to be regulated.
But hold on, wait a minute. So It's you're not acknowledging that there's a legitimate argument against, and not against AI, but there's a legitimate argument about some of the impact of AI, and suggesting that it's all some conspiracy by Dustin Moskowitz.
Look, I think they're probably genuine people who really believe what they're saying.
Dustin clearly does. Or are you saying that who's he working for? Israel? Putin? I mean, this is all bizarre.
I don't think there's any suggestion he's working for anybody other than himself. It's his belief system. He could be shorting stocks. I have no idea what he's doing, but she definitely shows that there is an organized group with talking points that they discuss beforehand, with an attempt to then proliferate that through various media and campaigns.
So this is all Keith. This is not very Keith Tier. You've always been somewhat of a skeptic. Who are these people, apart from Dustin Moskowitz?
There's quite a lot of them. I mean, you and I had a show about a year ago about if effective altruism versus effective acceleration.
Sam Bankman-Fried, he's in jail. He can't be controlling this thing. What about Sam Bankman-Fried's parents? Are they involved somehow?
You're being facetious, Andrew. Let's talk about it properly. Let's talk about it properly.
I'm trying to keep a straight face, but this is bizarre.
Well, you do acknowledge there is a thing called effective altruism, and it's a group of
movement.
people.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of shows. Toby Ord, I know his name has come up as well.
Jan Tallinn,
who was a co-founder of Skype, a very smart and interesting guy who's concerned. I mean, all these people have, whether you agree with them or not, they have some concerns about the impact of tech on the world. Well, and Tallinn was an investor in a think tank in Cambridge, very much a successful tech entrepreneur
it's called the Center for Existential Risk. So that already tells you where he's at.
Well, I mean, Martin Rees, who was formerly the royal astronomer, is very much involved with that. So there are lots of credible scientists who are involved with that. But anyway, go on.
Well, look, there are a lot of people, including the Google guy you interviewed a couple of weeks ago, who are fearful that AI can get out of control and become bad for the humanity.
Jeffrey Hinton.
Former
Google guy.
There are...
Who just won the Nobel Prize as well.
Right. So I'm not trying to say that, these people don't exist and they don't have strongly held views, that they really do hold those views. What I'm saying is they have a very well-funded media campaign to propagate those views, and that's what she documents.
But hold on, wait, let me ask this. So, okay, there are people who strongly believe that AI is dangerous, and they are creating interest groups, non-profits, to do this. Is she suggesting that there is some sort of organized conspiracy, that there is some committee, a central committee of the anti-AI brigade who meet globally? Maybe George Soros is involved with this too.
Yeah, she's actually got reports out of meetings that were held as part of what she presents. So there are such meetings, and they focused on specific targets in the EU, for example, to get certain outcomes. I was a political activist. This is all normal stuff.
And it happens on the other side too. I mean, there are lots of pro-tech interest groups, AstroTurf networks that are funded by Google and OpenAI and all the others. So, I mean, it goes on both sides.
Yeah. So I don't think she's using the word conspiracy anywhere, but she's saying an organized attempt to influence opinion around certain negative AI.
But that's just politics, Keith. That's the nature of things. It's always the case. So to call it, whether you're calling it,
she calls it
a manufactured moral panic against AI, is itself a kind of moral panic, isn't
it? You could argue that, but I think that you've got to take a more nuanced view, which is whether AI is a net positive for the human race, whether there is a genuine risk, certainly anytime soon, of it being out of control.
Well, a net positive, there's two things. A net positive is at this point an incredibly complicated question.
I don't think so.
Well, you don't think so, but many others do. I mean, you're suggesting that anyone who doesn't think that is somehow involved in this manufactured moral panic?
Well, look, for that to be true, let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. A word guessing machine would have to turn into, a nuclear bomb launching machine. And there's no technical way that can happen. It's a kind of a science fiction on the doomsday side. So the entire narrative is flawed from a technical point of view.
So okay, so if I would strongly disagree, but we've been over this lots.
But you don't know. I mean, why? Well,
I know as much or as little as you do.
I doubt that. Well, try to articulate how that could happen in terms of actual things that could happen.
I mean, but let's focus on the AI panic campaign. What are they saying? I mean, why are they doing? I mean, if what you're saying is they're entirely wrong and they don't know what they're talking about, and there are leading scientists involved, I don't know, Tallinn, Martin Rees, perhaps, then are they just wrong, or do they have some other agenda?
They basically are both. They're certainly wrong. I don't know what their agenda is, other than government control over AI, and I don't know why they would have that agenda. I'm not her. Remember, I'm showing you what she's written and her research, but it is the case that the kind of headlines that they're supporting are doomsday headlines. One of them in a Times op-ed, and this was an op-ed by a guy called Yudkowsky. "We need to shut it all down" was the headline, and it was from the Campaign for AI Safety. So there is clearly a set of opinions. Handbook of Communicating the Existential Risk from AI is a handbook that teaches their converts how to talk about that.
So it's a kind of, so you're suggesting it's an anti-AI cult organized by Yudinsky or some other Insky, Moskowitz. It all sounds a little like the Protocols of Zion or something.
Yeah, I think if you define a cult as a failing attempt to create a mass movement, yes, that is what it is.
Do you think George Soros is involved, Keith? Somehow, I bet he is.
His name doesn't come up at all, so I doubt it.
What about the man of the moment, Epstein? Is he involved?
He's dead, Andrew.
But I bet if he was, he'd be involved, wouldn't he? If he wasn't dead. What about Prince Andrew?
So read this. The Campaign for AI Safety came to the following conclusions. This is documented. 1, convincing the public that AI is a danger should be a priority, but logical arguments alone may be insufficient. Creating urgency around AI.
Who wrote that? Let's just be clear. Who wrote this to who?
The Campaign for AI Safety published it in a public document.
And who is on this campaign? Who's financing this campaign? Is this Moskowitz again, or
he's
George
one
Soros?
of the people that funds it?
Well, it's a public interest group. So I mean, Gates published it, but this sounds like the sort of stuff that the MAGA people talk about Bill Gates, because if he funds something and they say it, then Gates must be behind it.
They did a survey called AI Doom Prevention Message Testing, and they tested various messages with people. Control AI before it controls you was one of them. You're right, it's a public interest group, but it's very much against the public interest. It's trying to demonize a technology.
Well, I mean, not in their view. They think that they're saving the world from a dangerous technology. But again, it's not clear to me what the agenda is. Why are they doing it then?
Who knows? I'm puzzled as well.
So
I have no idea why they're doing it, but they are doing it.
I mean, Dustin Moskowitz, why he could spend his money on swimming pools or fancy cars. Why is he spending his money on this?
Well, when you read what they're putting out, I'm pretty sure you're going to disagree with them.
But that doesn't mean that it's a plot or a conspiracy or
no one's saying it's a plot. Neither is she saying it's a plot. She's saying there's an attempt to create a panic. By the way, she's not even guessing that.
It's a PR.
They say so. They're pretty transparent about saying that's what their goal is.
There was an interesting piece, Keith, this week in the journal about two kinds of business models now developing on the AI front. One from Anthropic, which is on track, and I'm quoting from the headline. It's a piece by
the way, Jeff Jarvis just left a comment on Facebook saying, "I'm with you, Keith, and with Nirit Weiss-Blatt."
Yeah, he loves Nirit Weiss-Blatt because she used to defend the internet, and now she's defending AI.
Thank you, Jeff.
But well, at least Jeff, listen. At least we have one listener. Is Anthropic connected with this, Keith? You seem to, before we went live, you suggested that somehow Anthropic are invested in this manufactured moral panic plot. Shall we say?
Well, firstly, she doesn't mention them, and I have no knowledge that they're involved. But it is widely believed, and they are accused of being part of the lobby seeking fast and deep government regulation of AI, and that would align with these people. So it is possible that Anthropic,
I have a feeling your dog's involved with it as well. Why is he barking so much?
I think he found a effective altruist in my backyard.
Yeah, I bet you'll find Dustin Muskowitz hiding under a bush in your Palo Alto backyard. But this is coming back. Maybe I'm repeating myself a little bit. You don't seem to give credibility to the fact that people have different opinions about this. Now, no, you and I disagree on OpenAI. You're very much in the OpenAI camp. I've always been closer to Anthropic. Why isn't the Anthropic business model of trying to focus on turning a profit earlier and less focus on investment, why isn't that just another credible argument?
Well, firstly, I'd say I'm not in the OpenAI camp vis-a-vis Anthropic. I use Anthropic probably every bit as much as I use OpenAI, and I like Anthropic's technology and software, and I even like listening to the founder on occasion. But I do consider OpenAI to be miles ahead from a competitive point of view, and likely to be the leader for the unknown future. Turning a profit's a slightly different topic. My opinion, formed from experience, is that any startup that turns a profit early in its life is defrauding its investors. Investors don't want you to turn a profit. They want you to grow. That's why they invested in you. If they were cared about a profit, they'd invest in public companies with profit. They're investing in private companies with growth on purpose, and they expect you to use the money to grow even faster and bigger. So turning a profit is in many ways, it's an insult to your investors.
Yeah, I'm not sure everyone. Not sure everyone would agree with this. Is your friend Nirit Weiss-Blatt involved with this one too, about believing that anyone who tries to turn a profit is somehow doing a disservice to their investors?
I don't think she's an economist, so I doubt she has an opinion on that. At least I don't know what.
Do you not acknowledge, Keith, that there are two alternative models? It's impossible. The Wall Street Journal piece this week on the Anthropic versus OpenAI business model of Anthropic investing less and trying to turn a profit earlier is a very interesting one. It has a lot of detail. You don't acknowledge that that's a credible dispute between two different kinds of startups?
Well, firstly, I don't think Anthropic would agree with that headline if they were asked. I think that's a writer putting that onto them, having read some documents about when it would be possible for them to turn a profit. I think Anthropic is an investing company, not, imagine if a company that's growing, instead of reinvesting the money to grow faster, kept it in their bank account. That is not a better company. That's a worse company. Now, if they'd stopped growing, it's different. If growing has slowed and they're throwing off a lot of cash and they can't invest it to grow faster, that's different. But we're not at that stage with AI. We're at the stage where it's very early
So again, it comes back to the question I was asking earlier. If you believe that it's just a non-issue, that all startups should try to lose as much money as they possibly can, what's Anthropic up to here? Are they trying to ban AI? Are they part of the manufactured moral panic?
No, they're not trying to ban it. They're trying to have government regulate it in such a way, it's called regulatory capture, that they could benefit as an incumbent by others seeking to enter being regulated.
So you don't accept the arguments of Anthropic of their
Andrew, Nirit is listening, and she sent a message to us on Facebook.
What'd she say?
She says, Keith, thank you. Hi, Andrew, a second listener here. Lots of laughs. I won't say I'm defending AI. I'm defending a nuanced, balanced
We need
AI.
to get her on the show. Nirit, tell her that she can come on the other show, but we should have her. We should do a three-way with Nirit, Keith, so to speak.
So to speak. Sorry, Nirit. And she says, I'm defending a nuanced, balanced AI discourse and fighting the hype and panic.
Yeah, well, let's move on. I don't know if I even trust you. I mean, it could be Jeff Jarvis pretending to be Nirit.
No, you should be able to see it in your interface on Restream. I can see it.
There's another interesting piece this week, Keith, in the Journal, which I sent you. Big tech soaring profits have an ugly underside. OpenAI's losses. You seem to just write, and you and I have talked about this endlessly. You seem to just write off OpenAI's losses. But this piece by James McIntosh suggests that actually this could be in the long run problematic. It's already having an impact on Oracle. The market value of Oracle, I think, has dropped 30% in the last month, perhaps in association with their circular deal with OpenAI. Are you not at all concerned with OpenAI's losses?
Well, look, sorry, I just had to jump up because my dog was about to savage my sofa. And Nirit says she'll gladly join the show. You should go and find her on Facebook, Andrew, and send her the link. She could jump in right now.
Well, you can.
Can I? Let me just see if I can find the link. Nirit, I'm going to send you a link, and
yeah,
we may have you jump in, but let me find the link first. It's in my calendar.
Here's the link. The link is easy.
Yeah, and come on. Oh, that's next week's show. Sorry. Here it is.
Get Nirit in and continue talking, Keith. So before we get near it, let's talk about, and I don't know if she deals with OpenAI's losses, the ugly side. Do you see no ugly side to this? It's just, doesn't really matter. The more billions they lose, the better. People are stupid enough to give them money.
So what we should do is define losses, because losses is one of those words.
Sounds like Bill Clinton defining sex.
Could be. So let's just define losses. Companies at different stages, losses has a completely different meaning. When you're a startup in your growth phase, it means that the money you're spending on your startup have not yet resulted in kind of peak growth. And so what you do is you take the revenue that you earn, and after paying your people and your facilities, you invest it in new growth. And in your accounting, that's a loss. But it isn't as if you have a failing business. You have a growing business that needs to be fed to grow. That's very different than, let's say, Blockbuster making a loss.
Yeah, you might bring up Kodak, but you seem to be going against all. I mean, so the Journal has this interesting piece, very well researched. The Economist this week has a cover story. It leads with how markets could topple the global economy. There's an excellent piece on the 7 deadly sins of corporate exuberance, including too much debt.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that the Wall Street Journal, the Economist, the FT, they're all wrong on this stuff, that they're concerned about the boom and its impact maybe it's a bubble on the world economy? Is this all part of the manufactured moral panic?
It isn't a conspiracy. It's just a lack of understanding of Silicon Valley. And you must admit, Andrew, the reason Silicon Valley is successful is because it does understand this.
Well, it understands what? How to waste money, how to lose money. But The Economist, the Wall Street Journal, the FT, they don't understand it.
How to spend money to grow. So take OpenAI. Its revenues 2 years ago were under $1 billion. This year, they're going to be 20 billion. Next year, apparently, they're going to be 100 billion. So when they spend money to grow, is that a waste of money? It clearly isn't.
No, but that's, I mean, you're reducing it to sort of kindergarten level discussion, Keith. No one's arguing that sometimes it's worth investing and that startups aren't profitable. That's no one's suggesting that. It's just that the level of losses of OpenAI in the long run, many people concern is not viable.
Hey, Nirit,
there's a lot of questions from economists about whether the company could indeed, even in 2029, although who knows what will happen between then and now, could be profitable. I mean, those are legitimate economic questions. They're not some sort of
really
moral panic.
Well, they're unanswerable. It's clickbait for their readers, but there's no substance of any economic substance underneath that, because no one knows what OpenAI's revenues will be in 2029. Some predictions say it might be as much as 300 billion by then in revenue.
So when OpenAI go to their investors and say, well, give me a few more billion or give me $500 billion, what would the investors think about?
Well, what they do is, and I do this in my business, you come with a model based on.
You mean like a
you can't be,
Playboy model? What is a model, Keith? A Playboy model?
Don't be so cynical. Look, obviously, you run your own business. That you're running Keen On.
I don't know if I'd call that a business, but anyway, go on.
It is your business, and you have to invest in it to grow. You don't, okay? So it doesn't grow.
Right, well,
Nirit, if you go look at your Facebook Messenger, there is a link in there, and if you can click on it, I think.
Yeah, and then we can hear from the source of the moral panic. Yeah. But go on while we're waiting for Nirit.
So there really is a lack of meeting of the minds between traditional later stage public company economists and Silicon Valley economics, which is a growth-based economics, not a profit-based economics. Profit happens at much greater scale later. So if you look at Google's profit today, it's ginormous, but Google lost money for almost 2 decades.
All right. Almost. What do you mean almost? So you're suggesting Google was founded, what, 1997, that it was losing money in 2017?
It was losing money consistently. Amazon the same. Not losing money, spending money on growth.
But it's still spending money on growth, Google, but it's...
Yeah, but now it has such huge revenues that the way you do it, and I don't want to teach my grandmother to suck eggs, but there's a thing called gross profit. Gross profit is about unit economics. Unit economics says it cost me this much to build this thing. When you buy it, 90% of what you pay is profit. So gross profit is inherent in OpenAI.
So coming back to Anthropic, are you saying that Anthropic's real agenda here in critiquing OpenAI and in suggesting that they want to focus on profitability, that either they don't get economics, or that their real agenda is involving the government and destroying the market somehow? Is that your point?
Well, actually, it's Burbagin who you should point the finger at, not Anthropic. I don't think Anthropic would have written this headline.
So it's Burbagin from the Wall Street Journal. But Anthropic is clearly, and the CEO of Anthropic, Amadai, has made this clear, that they're much more focused on realizing profit. Certainly Sam Altman seems less concerned. What's his agenda here? Is it to close the market down? Is he wrong? I don't get it.
I haven't heard the Anthropic CEO say he's focused on profit. I think he's focused on revenue growth mainly. and on securing leadership in the B2B AI space, which he's been very successful at.
But you've also said that Anthropic is somehow involved in this moral panic.
Well, Anthropic seems to have a predilection for asking to be regulated.
Oh, look, Nirit's here. So now we can hear from the... Hello, Nirit.
Hi.
Where's your video?
I'm in my car, and I don't know why I'm with my phone, so it's not working.
Okay, well, we're going to hear it from you. Keith is a big fan, and as you know, I'm more skeptical. Tell us what this manufactured moral panic is, Nirit.
First, thank you, and thank you for Jeff Jarvis to ping me on that. So to make a long story short, when I saw all the AI is gonna kill us all media tour of a lot of people, it started like this investigative journey into two things. First, the ideology, like the canon, the literature, and the second thing is the follow the money type of investigation. So wanting to know why they're setting the agenda, why they are like media stars and we see them everywhere, also in policy. And through that, I found the things that Keith linked to, which is the ecosystem and the main founders of it and the whole story behind it. So that's like the story of the AI panic suspects and the post that he showed you.
Well, let me ask this question. I asked Keith, it's probably better to ask you. Is there some organized moral panic? Is it Jan Tallinn? Is it the Anthropic people? Is it Dustin Moskovitz? Do they meet in some smoky airport lounge to plan all this, Nirit? What's happening?
No. I will never suggest such a thing. I don't think there's a conspiracy here. I think maybe Keith said it as well from reading my stuff. What I'm saying is that we are talking about the results of like decades of inflating this ecosystem of AI risk with a lot of funding and literature and concern. So I'm not saying they're not like sincerely concerned or they're doing it for the money. I'm just saying there are incentives to hype those things to the level that we see them like taking over the conversation. So that's what I'm going after.
But doesn't this, and I asked Keith this, doesn't this exist on the other side? Is there a lot of nonprofits funded by big AI companies like OpenAI and Google and others who are arguing that that OpenAI will benefit mankind and we should all just sit back and enjoy it?
I think you have two sides of this coin, but my investigation, and it's for my next book, is about the rise of the doomers, not the rise of the accelerationists.
You just found a new one in Andrew. And you should interview Andrew. He's a doomer.
I'm not a doomer.
I don't think he's a doomer.
I don't think I am a doomer.
I'm joking. I'm doing to him what he does to me, which is winding him up.
Is George Soros involved near it?
Not as far as I can tell, no.
But don't they have a legitimate case for being at least concerned? Keith's nodding his head, but I didn't ask you, Keith. I'm asking Nirit.
No, I was shaking my head, not nodding.
Yeah, shaking his head. He's saying no. Nirit, there is a legitimate argument to be concerned. Many people are fearful. I mean, Elon Musk historically was deeply fearful. Sam Altman's fearful. So these are legitimate concerns.
Well, I think my criticism is not that we shouldn't have any concerns. That's never something that I said. But rather, we should balance everything into a more nuanced way. So what I mean by that is if the focus of everybody is about the long-term, futuristic, hypothetical risks and not dealing with the current ones, it changed what politicians are dealing with, the proposals, the bills, the regulation. So that was like an incentive to say we should focus on many other stuff and not just what they are really fearful of, the catastrophic, rogue AI and those type of things, because again, there are hypotheticals and we can look at other things more scientifically and empirically and deal with those stuff. I think that's like my main message. But
I mean, when we talk about AI, everything's hypothetically, both positive and negative. Nobody knows.
Well,
But you don't kill it now when it's still in infancy because of the fear.
My belief, Andrew, is that the conversation here really isn't about who's right and who's wrong. We can all have our opinions about that. I'm strongly in favor of AI experimentation, and I really don't want regulation, but I understand there are other people who take the opposite point of view. I think what Nirit taught me, and I was not aware of, is the chain of value that goes from the EA enthusiasts through to this campaign, what the specific messaging is and what their tactics are. I personally don't believe they're very effective. So if they want to be effective altruists, they're not being very effective because their message isn't really landing. Most people are much more prepared to give AI a lot of flexibility to prove how good it can be.
Nirit, let me ask you then, this connection keeps on bringing up the effective altruist. As I said, Sam Bankman-Fried, the most famous effective altruist in jail. I don't suppose he's involved, though maybe he'll be out soon because he wants Trump to pardon him. But who are these EA people? Is it the Oxford Group? Is it Toby Ord? Is it Jan Tallinn? Who are the people most centrally involved in this moral panic against AI?
Well, the extreme edge is, of course, Miri, Eliezer Yudkowsky, and Nate Sauer with their new "if anyone builds it, everyone dies" type of message. They're like the extreme end. In the middle, but still hardcore, you have the Max Tegmark SLI of the world with Jan Tallinn. And in the funding place, yes, you have mainly Dustin Moskovitz pouring hundreds of millions a year for a cause, among the causes is this cause.
Is Moskovitz, is he actively involved? Does he talk to the others? Do they have meetings?
I have no idea.
But he's funding, would it be fair to say, Nirit, he's funding nonprofits in the same way Bill Gates funds nonprofits in the environment. He's not necessarily speaking for these organizations.
I mean, if you look at the call for applications, if you say, I want you to deal with the catastrophic risk in the long-term safety of frontier AI, it gives you that result of organizations and more organizations and like hundreds of them a year that's doing that because the incentive of getting the money from open philanthropy is there. So it doesn't need to dictate anything about what they're doing, but he's sending money to a specific place.
And what about on the other side? I mean, aren't there people doing the same thing?
Less organized, Andrew, because on the other side, you don't really have to fund a propaganda campaign because it's already received wisdom that AI is a good thing. You can see that with the demand and the amount of money we're all spending on it. It doesn't need to be boosted, whereas the negative message does need to be boosted.
And what about, where's Musk on this, Nirit? Musk was involved. He was the co-founder of OpenAI because he was fearful of the impact of AI. So he was an original doomer. And so in a sense was Sam Altman. Where's Musk in your equation, Nirit?
He's a very interesting person. He also funded the initial $10 million that got FLI start working, the Future Left Institute. And then Vitalik Buterin poured more than $500 million and turned this, $2-4 million organization to more than $500 million one. And Elon Musk left that area of those think tanks and nonprofits. And I think in here, I would more call it like a messiah savior complex type of thing that, okay, I understand that it's so powerful, then I need to be the one who's going to build it, make it safe and benefit humanity. I think that's more like his story now.
Well, the other thing is Grok. I used it today. That video you got from me, Andrew, was done on Grok. Grok has massively upgraded its capabilities and is now a genuine contender to be, an OpenAI competitor.
So what are you suggesting, that Musk's moral panic is only convenient when he doesn't own the AI? Now he does. He's less of a moral panicker.
He's definitely less of a moral panicker, although he's a fairly nuanced guy. He does on occasion talk about the need for guardrails. For example, when he was voted to get his $1 trillion package, if he delivers 8.5 trillion of value to Tesla, one of the reasons he wanted it was to have voting capability for the robotic force that he's building. He's talking about 1 million robots, and he wants to have control to pull the plug if necessary. So he certainly still reserves judgment, but he's building it nonetheless. So he obviously believes he can avoid a bad outcome.
Where did Geoffrey Hinton was on the show a couple of months ago, who won the Nobel Prize, one of the father figures, supposedly the godfather of AI. Is Hinton part of this moral panic? When he came on the show, he gave AI about a 10 or 15% chance of destroying humanity. Is he part of this network, of this plot?
I won't call it that. I think that he and Yoshua Bengio, both at the same time, February of 2023, got really panicked about the capabilities, about how fast everything advanced, and they both experienced sort of like an Oppenheimer syndrome of, we created a monster and now we need to tame it type of thing. So they both really went into the X-risk realm with that in mind. I think that can explain some of his behavior.
The opposite side is Jan LeCun, who announced he's leaving Facebook this week. Jan LeCun believes that LLMs are highly limited and won't be capable of achieving artificial general intelligence, and he's leaving in order to build what he thinks will be able to do it. So he's on the side of, you don't need to be scared. It can't even do what they claim it's going to be able to do.
Right, but Nirit is writing about this manufactured moral panic against AI. A lot of people are ambivalent. A lot of people change their minds.
I think that Andrew, if you'll go through my links, I think the rabbit hole that I'm in is those rationalist, effective altruist groups that are really like doing the what I call bait and switch thing, where they take people who want to be altruistic, as Keith said, and they want to do, like, let's say, animal welfare or help the poor. But then inside the movement, all they hear is you have to save humanity from the extinction risk from AI, and this should be the focus of your career. And they take those young minds, they tell them we have few years to survive, and you are the chosen few who needs to save us. And with this like huge mission on their shoulder, they go and create some of those organizations that get funds from open philanthropy. So there's something here in the system that I want to highlight, that there is some kind of doctrination of those, very young minds that they target. It's not sinister. I'm just saying it's happening.
What about Anthropic's involvement with this? Before you came on the line, Nirit, and you've saved the show. Without you, God knows what this show would have been like. It's wonderful to have you. Keith seems to be suggesting that Anthropic are on the doomer side. What's your reading of Anthropic's role in this growing chasm between moral panic against AI and people who believe that it actually can make the world a better place?
Well, between all the, frontier labs, Anthropic is by far the most doomery one. That's like what it prides itself for, being the most AI safety focused group, and that, recruits specifically from EA cycles, use the jargon, ask about people's PDOM, and they're really into this ecosystem of existential risk. And with that in mind, I think it's also the savior complex of that we're better and that justify whatever we do.
Is this Amadai or just the corporate culture at Anthropic?
Most of them.
Interesting. Keith, do you have any final questions? Nirit's been so generous with her time.
Yeah, actually, we really need to go. So last question, please.
No, I don't have any questions, Nirit. And it's great to hear you. We don't know each other, and I discovered your stuff last week, having heard about it.
He's a fanboy, Nirit. You should be careful around Keith.
Also, I'm detecting that you're Persian, I think.
I'm Israeli. The word accent is Israeli.
Oh, it's Israeli. It sounds very similar to a Persian accent.
Well, Nirit, you'll have to come more fully on the show. We can do the video. Maybe we'll get Keith and we can have a fuller conversation. But we really appreciate your generosity in calling in from your car. Wonderful conversation.
Lovely, and
an important one. And I'm
follower.
thrilled that you are now the hottest thing in Silicon Valley. You're even on the All In podcast.
I have various listeners, followers, and subscribers. Yeah, some of them in government, I guess.
Well, congratulations, and I'll look forward. When's the new book out?
Oh, it's a long time, at least a year. But I'll be in the show before the book. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll be in touch. Good luck with everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that was good, Keith. We have to thank our friend Jeff Jarvis for that. We'll have to get Jeff on, too. I don't know where Jeff is on this. I'm sure that he's ambivalent.
Jeff is a man of many thoughts, so it could be anything. I don't know if he's still.
That was really an exceptional show, Keith. We started with just the two of us, but then we got Nirit on, who brought us some enlightenment on the AI panic. I, as you know, am a skeptic. Maybe I'm wrong, but we will see. And no doubt we will come back to this in the not too distant future. Fascinating week, fascinating conversation, Keith. I will talk next weekend. Thank you so much.
Bye.